All right, thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. You guys, most of you guys should know me. My name is Bill Moore. I am the author of the book, Food Truck 101, From Beginner to Winner. And I've also got another book coming out here in probably 2 to 3 weeks. And that one's going to be entitled Food Truck 201, Get Off the Truck. The idea behind both of these books is I wanted to write them as if they were textbooks. They would be the definitive source for food truck owners so that they can actually, number one, with this book, get started and have a very profitable business. And then the next book coming up is how to get people to turn that profitable single truck into a company of many, many trucks, where you become the leader of a bunch of trucks rather than working by your hands to earn money. So that's the premise behind these two books. And tonight's topic is credit card processing. And we'll just go ahead and jump straight into it. So before I start getting into the presentation, I wanted to ask you guys, especially the ones that are already open, what processors do you guys have? And if you're just getting ready to open, what ones are you considering? So if you guys want to just unmute and start telling me what you got. And if not, I can tell you the first one I started with. Because I've been doing this a really long time. So when I first started, there was no ability to take credit cards. So we did everything by cash. And when we had an opportunity to take credit cards, when Square came out and made credit card processing accessible, of course, I had to jump in on that and see what that was all about. So I've used Square pretty much since they first came out around 2010 or so is when I first started using it. I've also used PayPal, and I've used Stripe as well. So I've used 3 different credit card processors for my own businesses. And then, of course, working with the restaurants that I've had, we've used a number of different processors as well. So I've got a little bit of experience with both the merchant account side and then what Square and PayPal and the others are called aggregate processors. So that's who I've used. So if any of you guys have somebody you're considering or somebody you do use, please, by all means, share. And I'll look at the chat real quick. Michael says he's thinking about using Square. Square has a lot of benefits to using it. Number one, it's predictable. You can figure out exactly how much money you're going to be spending using Square, because no matter what credit card is processed, it costs you the same amount of money. So there's a positive and a negative there. For instance, if somebody runs a debit card using Square, it costs the exact same amount to your business. And I'll explain the differences in some of the other processors in a couple of minutes. Anybody else have a company they're thinking about? A company that they are currently using? I do know that Square was actually down last week. I think Thursday morning or maybe Wednesday morning. One of those 2 days it was actually down for a couple of hours and no one anywhere could process anything. And that is a pain, and it does happen from time to time. We always referred to that as we're out of the credit card business. And that does create a problem for guests that are so used to us being able to accept credit cards and debit cards. So you got to kind of have that backup plan in mind of what happens if the credit card system goes down. What can you do? What will you be able to do? So you can transact cash. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the subject matter for tonight. There's 3 important facts that I want you guys to understand when it comes to even thinking about taking a credit card, because there are so many people that'll come on our group and ask, do you take credit cards? Are you cash only? So here's the 3 facts. 90% of all payrolls direct deposit. What that means is people don't go to the bank like they used to. They don't get a paper check and have to run to the bank to cash it. So they're not given the opportunity to have money to put away into their pocketbooks or their wallets. So people are used to the convenience of that debit card because now they don't have to go to the bank. 80% of all consumers would rather pay with a debit card or a credit card. So you're talking about a whole bunch of people that you're going to disappoint if you decide to go the route of cash only. There have been a number of businesses that have tried to do that because, oh my goodness, credit card processing fees are so much. And they've all had to revert back to accepting debit and credit cards. And then I want you guys to understand this last fact: processing fees are a part of doing business. Just like the food that you buy, it's an expense. That's all that it is. But people really kind of freak out about that particular number because they get a report at the end of the day or the end of the month that says you have spent, $4,000 in credit card fees. So they look at that number and go, oh my goodness, $4,000. They're just, they're draining me dry. But if you actually looked at all of your receipts for all the food, you may have spent, $12, $14, $16,000 in food, but no one minds about that because that's a part of doing business. Also is credit card acceptance. It's a part of doing business. There are two types of credit card processing companies. I want you guys to understand the difference in those two companies, those two types of companies. One is called a flat fee aggregator, and that's what Square and PayPal Now rather, and some of the others like QuickBooks, they have a mobile version as well. A flat fee aggregator does not require a merchant account, and that makes it real easy for any business to basically sign up and start collecting credit cards almost immediately, as long as they have the little Square credit card swipe device to attach to their phone, or they spend a few bucks and get one of the ones that do the chip cards. In either case, there's no application and being turned down. You're able to take credit cards nearly immediately, as long as you have a bank account for the money to be deposited into. Flat fee aggregators charge you in two ways. They charge you always a certain percentage, and it's going to be a flat fee percentage. Square's is 2.6. There's some aggregators that are 2.75. There's some that are 2.5. There's some are in the mid to upper 2% range. And then flat fee aggregators also could possibly charge you a transaction fee. Square charges you 10 cents per transaction that you swipe or that you process. So if somebody comes up and buys a can of soda, for instance, and you charge $1 for it, the processing fee will be 10 cents, and then it will be the 2.6%, so roughly 13 cents is coming off of that dollar transaction. Whereas some people would only be charging you the 2.6 or 2.75%. So you wouldn't have that 10 cents coming off. But that's what a flat fee aggregator does. The other type of company that processes credit cards, or companies, is called having a merchant account. And what that means is you actually have to apply for it, and you could possibly get turned down for it because they're looking for people that are going to be processing the credit cards and doing it in a very meticulous, legitimate manner. So they're going to be checking the backs of the numbers and is it signed and all that kind of thing. Merchant accounts, again, a little bit more difficult to get, but they give you flexibility in who might be processing your credit cards, because you can get a whole variety of different companies that will process the credit cards for you, and they do it through your merchant account, and you will have a multitude of fees. And the fees are based on what type of card you're taking. So a debit card, for instance, has the lowest possible fees because from the banking world perspective, a debit card is a cash transaction. So they take just a little teeny tiny fee on that. Credit cards, on the other hand, can be very expensive to process and then have different amounts of transaction fees associated with them based on what type of card it is. So the cards that have mileage or rewards or cash back, those tend to have a higher percentage because the company's giving you rewards and cash back and mileage. So they're taking a little bit of that higher percentage to be able to pay those rewards. So those cards, when you process them, are going to cost you more to your business. If you have just a generic Visa, for instance, that has nothing attached to it, no rewards, no cash back, it'll have a lower fee. It'll still be above the debit card because it's still a credit card transaction, but it won't be as high as again, a card with rewards on it. American Express, if you accept that as a merchant account, it's more expensive to process it than it is to process a generic Visa, Discover, or MasterCard. So when you get into a merchant account, it becomes more complicated for you on the back end to reconcile how much money is going out of your business. You'll get a grand total and you'll know what you're paying in fees, but the fees will go up and down. They're very unpredictable. And I see that a lot in my area, especially because I'm in a tourist area. So we have lots and lots of cards that come down here that have mileage attached to them, or lots of rewards, or lots of cash back, because people want to charge as much as they can to get that little teeny tiny bit of cash back at the end of the year. So I see a lot of those. I see a lot more of those here than I did in when I worked up north. So just understand what you're getting yourself into, no matter which route that you choose to go. So you have 4 choices if you're thinking about your business and whether you're going to take credit cards or not. You can obviously not take cards, but the negative to that is you will chase away business. And I know that there are a lot of people that say, I've been doing this for 20 years and I've never lost a customer. They don't know. Because I can promise you they've lost customers, because the customer that comes up today and they order something and they whip out their card and the dude says, sorry, I don't take cards. They probably had enough money maybe to pay for that, but they're not coming back because you've created an inconvenience for them. Oh man, I got to stop at the ATM before I can go over see this jerk because he doesn't want to take credit cards. People remember those kind of things. So while you may have never had somebody walk away from you, it doesn't mean that you haven't lost business. You just don't know you haven't lost business. Because I, for one, am one of those people that very rarely carry cash. And when someone says, sorry, we're cash only, I say, sorry, I don't need your food. The other number 2 there is you can pass the fees along to your guest as a quote unquote convenience fee. But what that does is it makes you look cheap and small time and puts you on the wrong side of laws in certain states and puts you on the wrong side of the terms and conditions of MasterCard and Visa. Remember, MasterCard and Visa are in business to make money off of those transactions. When someone puts a convenience fee at the end of the bill, people are less likely to want to use their credit card because now they're being penalized to use the credit card because the merchant doesn't understand how to do business. The merchant is small time thinking. So those guests don't want to use a credit card now. And if they come back to that business, you have given them an incentive not to use the credit card, which MasterCard and Visa don't like that. They want people to use credit cards. That's how they make money. So in the terms and conditions, it says it has a certain way that you can charge a convenience fee. And I can tell you that most businesses that I've been to that charge a convenience fee don't do it right. And every one of those businesses I will turn in for having not done it properly. There's a business here in Defuniak Springs that I turned in a few months ago for not doing the convenience fee properly. And they get chastised by Visa, is who I turned them into. And Visa sent me an email saying, we've re-educated these people. And I don't know why they chose to use the term re-educated, because that sounds a little bit militaristic. But they didn't really do anything. They just took Visa's little warning and said, we don't care. And they kept on charging the fees. So I turned them in again. And now they don't take, or they don't charge a convenience fee because they were not doing it right. Because that second time they got turned in, Visa said, if you don't stop what you're doing and do this procedure properly, you will not be able to process any Visa cards. And that's not a position you want to be in. So if you're going to be small time thinking, make sure you follow the rules and regulations of your state and what Visa and MasterCard have on their terms and conditions. Then we get into the one that people see a whole bunch of, and I see this probably almost daily. Offer a cash discount program that makes your fees free. Makes you look like a gas station is what it does. A cash discount program is you'll have some upstart company that wants to trick people, and they use the word free and say, hey, we're going to give you free credit card processing. You won't have to pay anything. And then they'll tell you you have to have a two-system or two-tier price structure for your menu. One of them's for credit card users, and then one's for cash users. So you'll have a hamburger, $10, and then a hamburger, $10.40 to charge to account for the credit card fee. So the guests will look at that and go, well, which one's better? And then you have to explain to them, well, you know, the $10 one's really the cash only price. And then of course, everyone's going to say, oh, you mean like the gas station down the road? So that's not a good thing. Or you can just put a blatant word across the bottom that says cash discount only, and then explain that the menu will be discounted 4%, is usually what they recommend, which to me is okay. Why? And I'll tell you why, because that's the legal amount limit that you can charge. So if you have a cash price and a credit card price, the credit card price can only be 4% more than the cash price. But they don't tell you that, because they tell you, hey, it's free processing. It's not free. Think of it this way. If a guest comes up to you, whips out that credit card and says, I would love to pay for my food with this credit card, and you say, no problem, $10.40. Their friend steps up and says, I want to pay for my hamburger with this $10 bill. And you say, well, it's going to be $10. Now you got to fight, because two people were charged a different price. And you got to stop what you're doing and explain, well, I'm a cheapskate and I don't like credit card fees, so I'm going to make your friend pay the credit card fee, and I'm not going to make you pay it. No matter what weasel words you use, that's the end result. You charged two people buying the same product, two different prices, because you didn't like how one of them chose to pay you. And here's the other thing, that credit card or the cash discount, that's your credit card processing fee. It's the only way to look at it. So it's not really free to you. The discount is what you're paying to process credit cards. And technically, if you think about it, you've now given a discount to process cash. So it becomes a cash processing fee. Not real bright, but most of the people that do these little schemes, and I call them a scheme because that's what it is, because they're taking words and misusing them. Free means free. Free doesn't mean it doesn't cost anybody anything. So I have a real problem when marketers come up with that kind of stuff. And then you can do the math when you're setting your menu prices and look like a professional business person. When you set the menu pricing, you're going to assume everybody is going to use a credit card. So it's no big deal. So if you're really worried about running a 25% food cost, and you know that most of your people are going to use credit cards, then you're just going to bump up the price about 3%. That covers all the transaction fees, covers all of the credit card processing. Not a big deal. And now you don't have to do the weasel words, hey, it's free to you, but not to you. Or I'm doing a cash discount because I want to think I'm passing off the fees on to somebody else when you're not. The money's still coming through your business. So those are the four choices that you have. Don't take cards, pass along the fees, offer a cash discount, or just do the math. I vote for do the math because I am a big proponent of doing things the easy way. I don't need two sets of menu prices. And I don't want to see you guys get taken advantage of. That's why I'm very adamant about do the math and understand what you're getting into. So that was very quickly, we covered all the credit cards.